Welcome back, viewers. Welcome back to Art Lounge Alley. Or welcome newcomers to the Art Lounge Alley. I'm your host. I am going to be drawing comics. This is going to be John Buscema's Conan the Barbarian that I'm going to be drawing from. I will show you guys in just a quick minute. Here it is, y'all. No Patreon intro this time. As I mentioned, you guys can always check out the Patreon page listed in the About section of the Twitch channel, along with other social media platforms. I will be showing it from time to time just to get newcomers more familiar with it. But for today, I just wanted to jump into drawing comics. Those of you tuning in for the very first time, this is Conan the Barbarian. Beautiful work by John Buscema. You guys should check out the very first episode of Art Lounge Alley, where I have a 5-minute video that I created about John Buscema and his journey to becoming an illustrator at Marvel. Talks about his life all the way from childhood all the way to, unfortunately, him passing away at the age of 74 or 72. Still very young, especially considering how much more he had to give illustration-wise. Beautiful work all the way to the end. Very unfortunate. I'm a huge fan of his work. I think he really captured like the comic book feel, especially the type that I like. Like, it still maintains some realism to it. Not in terms of like how much detail, but he captures anatomy so well. Like, even just looking at this panel right here, you know, the gesture of his arm, the face expression, despite it just being black lines, you know, it's not it's not crazy amount of detail, but he manages to make the right lines, even with the hands, the perspective, the proportion, to kind of still maintain a mature, a sophisticated kind of look, but at the same time keeping it a comic book vibe. Like, it's not crazy amount of detail, but the lines are there, the eyes, the way that they're drawn. He's like right in the middle there, you know, he's like in the middle of realism and comic book. So just in general, you know, like looking at this, just gonna quickly go over some of these panels to illustrate that. You know, just really fun, beautiful work. Background as well, just showing more of what a comic book feel. You're not going to see this in real life, right? You're not going to have this like transition with these like illuminating background images, but yet the faces are pretty realistic. The lizard has realism about it as well, and still very comic bookish. The colors as well, I think the colors add to it. They bring out the lush colors you're never going to see. You're not going to see this kind of green when it comes to a cave, right? But you still have this vibe that it is in a cave. It's in this like, I want to say like mossy, dirty kind of cave environment, but it's bright green. You know, that's fun. And the orange curtains and the really red floor that he's on. Same thing over here, the yellow, really yellow background to illustrate light, but still, you know, it's very cool combination of the two. And I think, you know, I don't think it was as intentional as I'm portraying it. I think a lot of it just had to do with limitation in color and technique at the time. It was very quote unquote simple. It wasn't really. I mean, if you guys watched, there was another intro that I've done. It's also in the collections tab, where I show you guys like a short video short 5-minute video just talking about the coloring process, like what that was like back then, back in the 30s, late 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and how long it took to actually create and mass produce these pages and what they're using. And I'm actually excited. You know, this week is going to be a very fun week. I have another special intro that I'm going to be showing you guys tomorrow at 9 p.m. So make sure you tune in then, 9 p.m. project stream. At the beginning, it's going to be a special intro where I talk about this artist that I've been wanting to talk about, and actually this weekend connects with him. So there's going to be some interesting information. There's going to be some fun videos and pictures and stuff. And I'll be giving you guys like a brief overview. So that's going to be great. And also, for those of you who have been tuning in, I finally got my India inks, which I'm very excited about. I'm going to be trying those out. So this Wednesday, when I'm going to be doing coloring comics, I'm going to be showing you guys the difference between a watercolor and India inks, like what the results are going to be. I'm going to talk about the process. I'm going to talk about how it feels, that sort of stuff. So make sure you tune in on Wednesday at 9 p.m. 8 p.m. I'm always going to be doing figure drawing, so you guys can be sure of that. But 9 p.m. Wednesday, I'm going to be doing coloring comics. And yeah, I'm going to be talking about like both and comparing them, trying to see what really the biggest difference is between the two, because they're both liquid form. But one thing I can say for sure is that right away looking at it, you know, looking at India inks, they're very liquid, very liquidy. And also the pigments are already there. It's already mixed. You know, the colors are already mixed. So, whereas with watercolors, you can play around with the strength of it. You got the pigment in the tube. Well, I got the tubes. You know, there's other ones where it's like solid. But you could play around with like the opacity and like how much pigment you want in the water. Whereas India inks are already pretty color filled. So it's going to be kind of interesting. I'm actually curious to know what the diluting process is going to be like. I'm guessing it's kind of similar. I'm going to have to mix it a little bit with water. It's a good question, actually. I didn't think about that. How exactly did they mix the colors then? Did they use a lot of white? For instance, if they wanted to get like more of a pinkish hue, you know, what was that really like? So it should be an interesting stream. It's going to be a learning process as well. I'm not too familiar with India inks, so it's absolutely going to be a learning process. But I am curious because that's what they used back then. They used India ink to color their comics. Like everything that you're seeing here, that's India ink that they put on acetate paper. So yeah, a full week of, well, not a whole week, but the week does have several fun streams coming up. So make sure you guys tune in tomorrow at 9 and Wednesday at 9 for some new exciting content. All right, y'all. So let's jump into finishing up this panel right here. I can already see that I made a mistake here. Something that I mentioned in a previous stream, which is paying attention to the angle of lines. You know, I didn't really notice how the cheekbone goes out more. And that right there makes a huge difference. It makes her face either more narrow or wide, depending on whether I notice that detail or not. So in this case, prior to noticing it, it was more narrow. giving these cheeks more space. Changes that. I'm digging this soundtrack. They've been playing some pretty good ones today. It's like this jazz. I don't want to say hip hop. I don't think it's hip hop. It's like R&B beats in the background, drum and bass. I don't know, it's hard to categorize it, but I like that combination. Hard to categorize for me because I'm not sure how to. I'm sure somebody else who is more aware of music categories could really nail it down. Oh, also over this weekend, I found this like short clip of John Buscema. Actually, it's a video of John Buscema drawing, and he's drawing Captain America. It's a great drawing, beautiful anatomy, and I was surprised to see. Actually, I was very surprised to see that he was holding the pencil, like not the pencil, but brush, very close to the tip. So I'm not going to knock it completely, but I do notice personally that holding the pencil further away, as I mentioned, has multiple benefits to it. It really does give you more range of motion as opposed to this. You know, you could see it. You guys could see you could still make beautiful work with it if you choose to do that. I think really you should just play around and see what gives you more comfortable experience. You feel really comfortable doing that, go for it. The most important thing is you enjoy the process, you know, and that you like how it feels when you're drawing something. It's not I don't think it's as important to talk about like these very specific things. It's important, but not extremely important. You know, as you can see, you could pretty much find your way around through whatever it is that you choose to do. However you choose to hold the pencil, whatever. If it brings you results that you're happy with, if it brings you good results, that's all that really matters. I'm just sharing some perspective. You know, this is what I've found to be the case. You know, for me, if I'm holding it too close to the tip, it tends to feel more stiff for me. I really do tend to feel like things, and it could be just personal, it could be just for me, but in comparison to holding it at a distance versus the tip like this, I do feel a lot more at ease. it's just out of habit that my hand kind of slides down. And also I think it does associate with detail. Like, you tend to feel like you have more control over the lines, and you're more like hyper focused on something as opposed to at a distance. At a distance, because it is so loose, it doesn't benefit having to draw tiny little details. But I think that's also achievable. You know, if you train enough, you could probably do the most minute details at such a distance. And I really do find it a lot easier to get around the page, to get around the panel, rather than holding it at the very tip. But explore, you know, that's really what I'm getting at, is that I'm just putting out more perspectives so you guys can have more things to explore at your own pace, at your own desire. I like to think of things sometimes as buffets. You know, when you go to a buffet place, restaurant, and everything is kind of laid out for you there, and nothing is like better or worse. I think it becomes a matter of preference. Like, some people will go and get fruit, you know, other people will go and get vegetables, and then within that, it's like, which fruit and vegetable do they choose? It doesn't make one fruit worse than the other if somebody chooses it. Like, some people might like strawberries, other people will prefer bananas. You know, it doesn't make either of them worse or better. So I'm just kind of like laying out all these different things, like a buffet. Like, there's this, there's that, you could do this. There's people who try this technique. There are people who do this with that. You know, and with all that, all those options, all those ways, you might find something that you really like, that resonates with you. And that's fun. This kind of like plays into something else. Like, when I was younger, I never wanted to take any art classes or drawing classes, or like learn from instructors, because I always felt like sometimes you will get those instructors who have like an agenda of like creating people who replicate his style, or replicate their style. It doesn't even have to be a he. Where they're like, do it like this, you know, do this technique and that technique. And while I understand that they're just teaching what they know best, I feel like that gets in the way of the artist process, like the self-discovery, you know, being able to figure out for yourself like what really works for you. You know, if you take into account time and pace and enjoyment and all those things, whether you really need that. You know, some people want to be faster, some people want to be able to explore different techniques or different methods. You know, they get joy out of that. And there's just so many different avenues that I find it to be very restrictive and kind of, I don't know, it becomes like an egocentric thing. But like I said, like that kind of changed over time. Like, I understood in some cases it really is a matter of like, they just know this method, and that's what they can teach best. using that method. So kind of varies, but I just always wanted the idea of like, well, just discover for yourself, like what really works for you. What do you know, you might come to the same conclusion, but at least you'll know that conclusion came from trial and error, that it came from your own personal experience. You know, and you get better understanding of something. You know, in some cases, it's like, let's say if you're doing, I don't know, like you're building a building and somebody tells you, okay, use this, and this, and just hammer away at it and just get it done. As opposed to saying like, okay, well, when you use this kind of screw, it creates this sort of thing, you know, and from that just alone, you discover something else that you could use in different context, you know. Like you might understand that screw and then be like, okay, another project that I'm going to do, I'm going to remember, oh, this screw does that kind of thing. So, you know, it kind of opens up this new avenue for you. So within the process of something, you learn something else that like caters to you developing your own individual expression, understanding, that sort of thing. And that, I think, also helps you grow as a person rather than being a replica of somebody else, you know, being a replica of that artist and their technique and that sort of thing. So it's like a two-way street, sort of. It's like there's like multiple avenues to it. Kind of like what art is all about, really. Exploring all these different avenues, understanding things, and growing as a person. So yeah, that's really what was it for me. Like I really just wanted that. Like I wanted to grow as a person, grow as an individual, you know, understand things like, yeah, okay, maybe I'll come to the same conclusion, maybe I'll discover, but at least I've gone through the journey and I've like really figured things out and studied them. And I think that that creates something else, you know, your ability to understand things as opposed to just being given the answer. And that's it. Like through that process of trying to discover the answer, learn other things as well. And I think that's fun. That makes the journey more fun. But I did come across a couple of artists who were just like out for that. Like they were just trying to be like, I am this person who influences everybody and look at them being just like me. And I always thought that was pretty pompous. And kind of like speaks against the whole artistic expression, philosophy. Journey, like all those things. You know, you might be able to end up, you might be able to draw better, but then is it as fun realizing that you're drawing just like somebody else? You know, doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose of art and the journey, like of discovering yourself, your own voice, your own style? You know, and all those things come from interpretation. I think those things come from viewing things a certain way. But yeah, like that whole train of thought just comes back to the idea of like, techniques like holding the pencil too close to the tip or holding it further away. Like really, it's not so much that I'm saying this is the way. It's just like different avenues, different things for you guys to explore. It's like multiple doors are there, and they all have like a description. You could kind of like walk through and experience what each door has to offer, and then come back and then try another door and see what that experience is like. That's really what my goal is, to put out as many doors out there and make them as interesting as possible. To encourage taking that leap, taking that journey. So you might want to take the leap and start drawing at a distance, or start drawing real close. Maybe you've been drawing the figure by doing the outlines of the entire figure and then working the inside, and through viewing this process you want to try and do it a different way and see how that works out for you. Are you going to enjoy the other way around or not? But now you have two things in your pocket. You got the ability that you were that you had prior, and now you have something else, and you could use those as like tools, like just as similar as things that I was talking about before, using the understanding of space between objects, like how close is this to this frame, like or like here, for example, how close is the waist to the arm, the space between objects. Using that's a tool, it's a method. Negative space, studying the negative space shape rather than looking at it as, oh, this is a face. Sometimes it helps to do that. It switches your mind, it switches your eye, and you're able to refresh your vision to get more accurate results. So that's another technique. So all these different tools, all these different methods lend themselves to each other, so you could draw more accurately, you could turn out more interesting results. All that stuff. Well, ladies and gents, I think this might do it for this sketchbook. That is, to be more accurate, I think this is it. I'm ready to start a new one. New panel, new comic book, new sketchbook. Lots of exciting stuff going on this week. Got India Inks, got a special intro coming up. New sketchbook. also would like to revisit that game that I was playing before. Some of you probably missed it. It was only once that I streamed it. It's called Counterfeit. And it's just basically something that I'm sure a lot of you have seen before. It's a game where you compare two images and you spot the difference in one. To see, like, okay, well, that's not present in the other image, so this is what's wrong with it. But what makes this game so much better and so much more fun, for me personally, is that it's all paintings. Every single image that you get is a painting, and it's beautiful work. Like old school paintings, modern paintings, all just mixed in together, and each one of them has something unique about them. So I might just like do a stream where for like 15 minutes at the beginning or at the end, I'm gonna play that. That could be on Thursday. So we can make this like entire week eventful of all different stuff. So I think it's gonna happen this week, y'all. We're gonna be you guys are gonna be watching that. I'm gonna be talking about the paintings, each and every one of those paintings. I'm very excited about it. I really love that game because it does inspire. It inspires more love for art, for painting, for illustration, for self-expression through all those mediums, and also glimpse in history. You know, to know that these paintings were done by an individual that no longer exists, but a piece of them still exists through this painting. And it is their brush strokes, it is their oils that they mixed, it is their image that they created that still survived 200 years, 300 years, 400 years even. You know, it's such a fun concept, not in terms of like they get to live on, and it's not just that, but just this idea, trying to describe it more, that that we as viewers, that we as people get to see or get a glimpse and be a part of that era or of that time period and of that person's experience through this image that they created. I don't know, there's something magical about that. You know, like people talk about magic and how it doesn't exist, but I think that's a great example of magic. You know, this piece of time, this piece of history that continues to live on through an image. I think that's like one of the best representations of magic. Kind of fussing around right now because I'm starting a new sketchbook. Am I ready for a new one? Is this book filled up enough? To start this new chapter? Did I put my all? I mean, the answer to that is always going to be no, because I feel like I could always do more. You know, as I mentioned, it's just kind of like the process itself. The continuous challenge. Continuously challenging yourself at nobody's expense. think the point where I say I have given my all is the point where I'm kind of giving up on art. Or giving up on improving and getting better. Say I've given my everything into this. I don't know. I could certainly give a lot, right? I could certainly give like hard work and really lay it on there. You know, I've done that before. I really felt it too, like where I was like, oh, made it. Created this comic, created this panel or issue or whatever else. And it's just like a really fun and overwhelming feeling in a sense. But did I give it my all? I'm still gonna say no. Despite how overwhelming and intense it was, I could still honestly say I could have given it even more. So I kind of feel about the same about this, and that's kind of what makes it so hard to kind of say like, okay, that's it, I'm done. You know, when it comes to projects that I've done, right? Like the project stream where I'm like, okay, I feel like this is finished. I don't want to spend more and more time on it. Did I give it my all? Certainly gave it a lot. But I still feel like there could have been something more that's done. And with that idea, if I don't just say, okay, let it go, I could still be, you know, stream 55 or 60 and I'm still working on it and fiddling around with things and changing things here and there, and it could change its way, but I want to start something fresh and try to give my all to that. You know, just keep pushing more and more through that. Like I'm just re-examining these lines and I'm like, messy lines. Could have done better. But I'm sure at the time that I was making them, I was like, not bad, it's alright. And I'm sure when I look at this panel again in the future, I'm gonna say, hey man, you didn't spend much time on ellipse. The eyes look a little bit bigger than they should be. The lips have a little dip there that you didn't include. It's like once you lay the foundation of the drawing, once you give it more solidity, if that's a word, then it's easy to like keep building on it and like tweak things around, add this, add that, fix this line, fix that, because everything's already there. You know, you're just kind of beautifying the image, I like to say. And I feel like that's endless. Like I could just go on and on and on and on. So despite this being that panel, still something very John Buscema about it. I'm never going to be able to substitute that. I'm not looking to. It's a challenge to really captivate it. Capture it, not captivate it. But yeah, you know, that's probably like the beauty of art as well, is that despite how exact something can be drawn in comparison, there's still that artist's touch that retains itself. How the colors are mixed, what kind of tones they got. You know, it could be the exact same painting, but the color mixing might be a little bit different, and that already makes that huge distinction between this artist and the next, you know. For me, it's just a challenge in order to train my eye. Not to be like John Buscema, I'm not looking to do that. But to really train my eye to be able to see all these different little things. And there's a lot of benefit to it. You know, I mean, I am training my hand to be more steady. I am training my hand to create these masterful lines. Skillful, not masterful. Don't like that word. It is a Nazi term. There's no such thing as master. That's a human construct, and it's a very toxic one. A very toxic one. So I tend to avoid using that stupid word as much as possible. And substitute it with better ones. And in that journey, I've discovered new words that really exemplify like what I'm trying to say. Alright, y'all, I think I'm fussing around with this, and it's already about 9:50. I haven't really started a new sketchbook because I don't want to next stream, y'all. I think I'm gonna do next stream for sure. There's nothing else to fill up. Well, maybe some panels here. But for those of you curious, like, what am I exactly trying to achieve here? It's an entire sketchbook filled from page to page, corner to corner, as a way of doing something different and something new and better. You know, when I mentioned this a lot last week. I've been mentioning it since I've been talking about this this goal that I used to use sketchbooks very flimishly. Is that what I'm looking for? Just didn't bother to draw all around. I would draw something, it didn't turn out well, I would just move on to the next image. Like, if I didn't like how this turned out, I wouldn't draw anything around it. I would just go to the next page as a way of saying start fresh. And while that is good, at times it is bad. It ends up being wasteful. It becomes a phobia of some sort where you're just like, I'm not going to draw anything else around it. And it becomes a disservice in the long run, especially, you know, when you're starting to draw images that overlap each other, drawing figures and objects overlapping each other. You don't want to do that because you've been so used to giving it everything its own private space. Whereas at this, you just kind of work around it. You know, you could see it's still touching certain parts, coming out underneath, over, so on and so forth. But yeah, just showing you guys how pretty much every single page. I'm practicing hands, which I will be doing more of on stream. These are off stream. I've done that in my own private time. I really like how they're drawn. I love the lines on them, like especially this hand. Such beautiful lines. Very satisfying to draw. And I'll be drawing on this hand, this pair right here. That's also fun. Yeah, I'll be drawing more of that and just showing you guys more of. Granted, some pages I still left kind of empty, but for the most part, every single page is covered. By the way, just a quick reminder for those of you viewing for the very first time, or those of you who have missed it, these pages are very important in drawing, figure drawing, understanding proportion, understanding anatomy, understanding how you could grasp the figure and its proportions and anatomy. These pages really show it. It shows the head as the unit of measurement. That's what all these heads are, basically. They're showing how pretty much everything in the body could fit into the head measurement. It's the most simplified form of measuring the body. There are all these different rules that can help it. You guys can get this on a Patreon page. You could download it, you could print it, you could keep it forever. It's yours, starting with tier 2, which is $5 per month. And you will also get access to other pages, other content that you could draw on a regular basis to keep practicing the figure, having new content to keep things fresh and exciting. And all that is uploaded, including this page as well, including these pages, and as I mentioned, I'll be uploading other ones as well to give you guys more material. So check that out. That's available on Patreon. And also this week I will be uploading new content on a Patreon page. Just flipping through more pages, showing you guys how pretty much everything is filled up. There's going to be, aside from all those other things that I mentioned, tomorrow having the special intro, Wednesday having India Inks, Thursday, what did I say? Thursday was the game where I was going to play Counterfeit and show you guys all the different paintings and talk about all the paintings. And I will also be uploading this new content as well. That's something that you guys will see on a social media platform. I'm not going to be showing that here on Twitch. You guys have seen it already. It is going to be the process from start to finish, video process from start to finish. It's speed painting that I'm going to be uploading to Patreon. So check out the social media platforms. I post there from time to time, just these updates and sneak peeks and previews of what's going up on the Patreon page. So you could catch that there as well. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. That does it for today's stream. It was a blast. There was a lot that I talked about, some stuff new, some stuff old. I will be back tomorrow for new content and more chatter. So thanks for tuning in, y'all. If you enjoy the content, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. They both help the stream go a long way and grow. And yeah, that pretty much does it. So thanks again, y'all. I will see you tomorrow.